Good afternoon, physics students. So for the past few lessons, we've been going over and practicing unit conversions. How to go from whether it's you're in the kitchen and you're converting cups to tablespoons, or we're talking about distance and you need to convert meters to miles or inches, or when we're talking about time, we want to convert hours to seconds or days to years. But sometimes only one conversion isn't going to do the whole job that we needed to do. Sometimes we might have to use two conversions or even more to really get to the unit that we really need. So we're going to look at two examples of that today. One converting units of distance, and another where we're looking at units of time. So first, let's talk with distance. So an example situation might be, I traveled 1.5 miles. How many feet is that? Okay, so when we're looking at all our available conversions, we see miles to meters, we see meters to inches, we see centimeters to meters, foot to inches, foot to centimeters, but nothing that really gets us one conversion that gets us from miles to feet. Okay? So what we're going to have to do is use a couple of them and daisy chain these conversions together to get to our final destination. So we're trying to get to feet, and we're starting with miles. Okay? So let's look at which of these conversions have miles in it. I see only one here. So we know we're going to have to use this conversion, because this one's got miles in it. So this one gets us from miles to meters. Okay. So now let's see which conversions have meters in it. All right, we've got meters to centimeters, meters to inches. These are our two choices. So it looks like we could go two different routes with this, right? We could go either use meters and then use, oh, not quite. We go meters to centimeters, and then we could go centimeters to feet, right? So this is one way. Or we could go meters to inches and inches to feet. Okay? So both of these should get us pretty close to the same answer. They might not be exact because these conversions are approximations, but each of these ways could work. So I'm going to go from meters to inches, and then inches to feet, because this is what we really need, feet. Okay? So we're going to use these three conversions here. So as you can see, there might be multiple ways to get where you need to go, but you just have to choose one path that gets you from your starting miles, and then gets you meters to inches, inches to feet, and gets us to our ending destination. Okay, so that's how we daisy chain it up. All right, so the three conversions I want to use is 1 mile equals 1,600 meters. I want to use 1 meter is 40 inches. And then finally, 12 inches equals 1 foot. So step 2 is we write out our conversions as fractions, and we write out the two fractions that you can get from each conversion. We're going to do the same thing here, but we're going to do it for each of our three. Okay, so we'll just go one at a time. So first we've got 1 mile over 1,600 meters. Or we do it the other way. 1,600 meters on top. 1 mile on the bottom. Okay? That's our first option. Just draw a bar here so we can see it visually. Next, we're going to do the meters and inches. So 1 meter over 40 inches. Or we could do 40 inches over 1 meter. Okay? Then we have one more conversion. I'll do this one down here. So we've got inches to feet now. So we could do 12 inches 1 foot, or 1 foot 12 inches. Okay? So this is just like we've been doing before. We take our conversion and we make it into a fraction and then we flip it. And these are the two versions for each conversion. We just need to do it for all three of the ones so we can daisy chain these up together. So we're going to go back to the problem and identify what is our starting amount and then write that as a fraction. So our starting amount, traveling 1.5 miles. So we need to write 1.5 miles as a fraction. So to change it to a fraction, all we have to do is draw the fraction bar and put it over 1. Because any number over 1 is just that same number. So we haven't changed the value, we've just now made it a fraction. Okay. So now step 4 is another really important step for us now. Which conversions are we going to use? Which of these fractions are we going to use? We're going to circle the ones that we want. So remember, in a conversion fraction, we want to cross out the old units and keep the new units. So the way we cross out an old unit is that our conversion fraction has to have the old unit in the opposite spot. So this starting, we have miles on the top. We're going to look for one that has miles on the bottom. All right. So when we look at these two choices, it's this second one here that has miles on the bottom. So this is the one we're going to want. Okay? So we've gotten rid of miles. Miles, now we have meters. But meters is not the final destination, right? We've got to go a few more steps. Now we got to get rid of meters. So to get rid of meters, we want a fraction that has meters on the bottom. Okay? Of these two, this one has meters on the bottom. So I'm going to pick this one. All right. And remember, meters isn't really what we want in the end either. What we really want is feet, right? So now we've converted miles to meters, and now we've got meters to inches. This is going to be our new unit now, inches, and we finally need to convert inches to feet. So we're going to look at our third fraction down here. We've got inches on top. Our conversion needs to have inches on the bottom so we can get rid of it and have our final unit feet. So that's going to be this fraction right here. Okay? So we've chosen the three fractions that we want to use. So now we're going to write out our fraction multiplication. So we start off with our beginning. We got 1.5 miles over 1. And now time for our first conversion fraction. We're going to use the meters over miles. So times 1,600 meters for 1 mile. Okay. So I'm going to show you how the units are crossing out. We got miles on top, miles on bottom, so those are going to go away. But we got to keep going because we don't want just meters. We want feet. So our next fraction tells us how to get from meters to inches. So we're going to use that. We're going to put 1 meter on the bottom, 40 inches on top. Okay. Well, that's going to do. Now we can cross out meters. We've got inches now. And then finally, we go from inches to feet. So we're going to use this one here. So 12 inches in a foot. So we've got 12 inches, 1 foot. What's going to happen here is that the inches are going to cross out because they're on opposite sides of the fraction. And you can see we've crossed out all the old units, and we have our final unit not crossed out. We want feet. So feet is what we're going to have left. Okay. So now we just need to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom just like before. We're going to multiply all these numbers together and then multiply all these numbers together. So I'm going to need a calculator to help me out with this, and you probably will as well. Along the top we have 1.5 times 1600 times 40 times 1. That gets me 96,000. So I'm running out of room here a little bit, but 96,000. And we got feet, so I'm going to write feet right there. Okay. And then we have along the bottom 1 times 1 times 1 times 12. So divided by 12. And then finally we're going to do 96,000 feet divided by 12 equals 8,000 feet. And that's going to be our final answer. So use this video to help you go through the guided example in the Google form.